Tell me what is worse, knowing nothing about child development and feeling lost, or knowing a lot and still feeling completely inadequate. I discovered in the worst possible way that theoretical knowledge and practical experience are completely different universes. I am a specialist in education, have been working with teaching and learning for years, with 15 years dedicated to higher education, and in the last 5 years, more focused on early childhood education. During pregnancy, I still studied different theories, methods, and approaches to child development. And even so, when Camille was born, I felt like the most incompetent mother in the world. Welcome to Mothers in Journey. I am Juliana Mazzi, and today's episode is Maternal Guilt and the Weight of Expectations. Today, I want to talk to you about a specific type of maternal guilt, the one that arises when you should know what you're doing, but you don't. When everyone expects you to have the answers, but you only have doubts. If you have ever felt the weight of expectations you couldn't meet, or if you have been your own harshest critic in motherhood, this episode is for you. When I found out I was pregnant, everyone around me was excited. You're going to be an amazing mother. You understand education, child development. And I smiled because I thought it would really be easier for me. I studied cognitive development, motor milestones, attachment theories. I made plans for Camille's routine, what stimulating activities I would do with her, created a Montessori room, how I would then create this perfect environment for her development. Then Camille was born, and along with her came a reality that no book had prepared me to face. In the first days when she cried and I couldn't calm her, I thought, how come? What is happening here? What I'm doing wrong? I know everything about a newborn's needs, so why can't I apply this in practice? For example, theoretically, I knew that babies need a routine. In practice, Camille seemed not to have read the same books as I did. She slept when she wanted, woke up when she wanted, and seemed to have her own schedule that didn't match anything I had planned. And the worst part is that Camille was that kind of baby who doesn't sleep. For many, many months, she would wake up every 2 or 3 hours to nurse. And no matter how perfect a routine I created or how modern the techniques I applied, nothing made my daughter sleep through the night. I remember my husband pointing out when my expectations were like, my God, Camille doesn't sleep. What am I doing wrong? And he reminded me, Camille is not a robot, darling. There is no instruction manual in a book to say exactly how Camille sleeps. This guilt of I should know is cruel because it doesn't just come from outside, it mainly comes from within us. And I remember that I would often study even more about children's sleep, and everything I applied didn't work. She would simply wake up 4 or 5 times throughout the entire night. I think she never slept through the night during her first year of life. This made me constantly question myself. How can you not get your daughter to sleep through the night? You know about the importance of sleep for development. How can you be losing patience? Emotional regulation techniques. So it was like I had two people inside me, the professional who knew the theory and the mother who couldn't apply it in practice. And these two people were constantly in conflict inside me. There was a day that really marked this for me. Camille was going through a phase of intense tantrums. She was 2 years old, the so called terrible two. And a friend from Italy who also has children said to me, but don't you know how to deal with this? Don't you work in education? And at that moment, I felt a bit ashamed, because I really knew theoretically about emotional development, about calming feelings, about strategies to deal with tantrums. But when it was my daughter there in the middle of the afternoon, after a sleepless night, with her screaming in the middle of the street and everyone watching, all the theory I knew seemed to disappear. And then I realized that there is a fundamental difference between knowing strategies and being able to apply them when you're exhausted, emotionally involved, and dealing with your own child, not someone else's child. And maybe the issue isn't that I don't know enough. Maybe the issue is that knowing and being able to apply are different things. And you know what? It's okay not to be perfect, even when you know a lot. The turning point began when I stopped trying to be the mother my knowledge said I should be and started being the mother I could be at that moment. I realized that my training and education were not a burden, but a resource. A resource that could be adapted to my reality, my exhaustion, my specific personality, and also to Camille's specific needs. I started using some AI applications, artificial intelligence like Claude, Chat, GPT, to help me reflect based on what I already knew about child development and learning processes versus what was happening in practice. And I started to categorize the facts not as theory and reality, but as what I know and how I can adapt this for today, for this moment, with the energy I have now. For example, I knew that tantrums were normal and healthy in development. But instead of pressuring myself to be the Zen mom who perfectly embraces all feelings, I started thinking, okay, how can I handle this tantrum in a way that works for both of us, considering I'm tired and she's frustrated? And I discovered something liberating. Being a specialist mom doesn't mean being a perfect mom. It means being a mother, aware of the processes, but also aware of one's own human limitations. My knowledge became my ally when I stopped using a ruler to measure myself and started using it as a tool to support myself. These books here were no longer a reminder of what I should be doing perfectly. They were resources for specific moments and strategies to try without the pressure of always getting it right. Today, my knowledge in education serves me in a completely different way in motherhood, not as a demand, but as compassion. First, because when Camille goes through a difficult phase, I know it's development, not a problem. This helps me to be patient with myself and with her. Second, when I lose patience or I can't apply a strategy perfectly, I know that's also normal. Being a mother is a constant learning process, even for those who study it. And third, I can adapt strategies to our specific reality without following a set recipe. Each child is unique, each family is unique, each moment is unique. It's not a cake recipe. But the most important discovery was this: my knowledge became more valuable when I stopped trying to be a perfect mother and started being a present mother. And it was exactly from this journey of transforming theoretical knowledge into practical and compassionate application that many of the ideas I use today to help other mothers were born. Small, adaptable strategies that work in real life, not just in theory. If you are a mother who knows a lot about child development, education, psychology, or any area related to parenting and still sometimes feels lost, hey, you are not alone. Knowing a lot does not oblige you to be perfect. In fact, knowing a lot can give you an even greater gift: the ability to be compassionate with your own mistakes and limitations. Because when you understand the development processes, you know that learning includes making mistakes. And this applies to our children, but it also applies to us. Next week, we will enter a different phase here on the channel. I will start sharing practical strategies, concrete things that have helped me on this journey of maternal reconstruction. Starting with something fundamental: how do we rebuild friendships after motherhood? But today, I want you to tell me, have you ever felt that guilt of should have known more? In what area of motherhood do you criticize yourself the most? And how do you deal with the gap between what you know theoretically and what you can apply in practice? Remember, being a conscious mother does not mean being a perfect mother. It means being present, compassionate, and willing to learn, even from your own mistakes. And if you want to know more about how I turn this self pressure into practical and gentle strategies, stay tuned for the next videos. Until our next conversation. And remember, you already know much more than you think.